Ibadan, coined from the phrase Ibadan, which literally means by the edge of the middle. It came into existence in 1829 during a period of turmoil that characterized Yoruba land at that time. It was in this period that many old Yoruba cities such as Old Oyo, known as Oyo-Ile, Ijayi and Owu disappeared, and newer ones such as Abeokuta, New Oyo, also known as Oyo Atiba, and Ibadan sprang up to replace them. According to local historians, Lagelu founded the city and was initially intended to be a war camp for warriors coming from Oyo, Ife, and Ijebu. As a forest site containing several ranges of hills, varying in elevation from 160 to 275 meters, the location of the camp offered strategic defense opportunities. Moreover, its location at the fringe of the forest, from which the city got its name, promoted its emergence as a marketing center for traders and goods from both the forest and grassland areas. The church and mission in Ibadan in 1850s. In 1852, the Church and Missionary Society sent David and Hannah Hindra to found a mission. They decided to build the mission and the church in Ibadan when they arrived in 1853. Ibadan thus had initially begun as a military state, and it remained so until the last decade of the 19th century. The city-state also succeeded in building a large empire from the 1860s to the 1890s, which extended over much of northern and eastern Yoruba land. It was appropriately nicknamed Idi Ibon or Gombase because of its unique military character. In Ibadan, unlike other Yoruba cities with traditional kingship institutions, the warrior class became the rulers of the city, as well as the most important economic group. Ibadan grew into an impressive and sprawling urban center, such that by the end of 1829, Ibadan dominated the Yoruba region militarily, politically, and economically. The military sanctuary expanded even further when refugees began arriving in large numbers from northern Oyo, following raids by Fulani warriors. After losing the northern portion of their region to the marauding Fulanis, many Oyo indigenes retreated deeper into the Ibadan environs. The Fulani Caliphate attempted to expand further into the southern region of modern-day Nigeria, but was decisively defeated by the armies of Ibadan in 1840, which eventually halted their progress. The colonial period reinforced the position of the city in the Yoruba urban network. After a small boom in rubber business from 1901 to 1913, cocoa became the main produce of the region and attracted European and Levantine firms, as well as southern and northern traders from Lagos, Ijebu-Ode, and Kano, among others. The city became a major point of bulk trade. Its central location and accessibility from the capital city of Lagos were major considerations in the choice of Ibadan as the headquarters of the Western Provinces, 1939, which ranged from the northernmost areas of Oyo State to Ekeremo, Bomadi, and Patani, which were regions transferred from the old Delta Province in the old Western region and late Midwest to the old River State and later Bayelsa in the redistricting of Nigeria carried out by the Yakubu Gowon administration shortly before the Nigerian Civil War. In 1893, the Ibadan area became a British protectorate after a treaty signed by Fijabi, the Baale of Ibadan, with the British acting governor of Lagos Colony, George C. Denton, on 15th August. By then, the population had swelled to 120,000. The British developed the new colony to facilitate their commercial activities in the area, and Ibadan shortly grew into the major trading center that it is today. Thank you very much, sir, for granting us this interview, sir. Please, sir, can I know you, sir? Can you introduce yourself to us, sir?
My name is Alhaji Bayo Yero, Aremayegun of Ibadanland.
Oloye Lekan Alabi, Ekefa Olubadan of Ibadanland, and the first cultural ambassador of the National Museum and Monument Ile Ife.
I would like to know the first occupants of Ibadan. According to my research, I got to know that was the second Ibadan before it was also destroyed.
Well, right from the beginning, this is the third Ibadan. The first Ibadan was occupied by various people from Yorubaland. Some of them running away from their territory, some of them vagabonds, and they occupied what they call Igbo Ipara. Location was between the forest and the savannah. They say Okoju Sigbo, Ofeyinti Odo. The forest is the southern part, Lagos towards here. That's the forest, that's the rainforest, which your geography must have told you. And from Oyo, you have derived savannah, which is Odo. So Ibadan was between the forest and the savannah. So, and that's where it derived the first name, Ibadan, that is near the savannah. It was this Ibadan that people continue to adulterate, so to say. And at the end of the day, we now have Ibadan. From Ibadan, it became Ibadan. And it was then later called Ibadan, which we are today. So the first, as I said, this is the third one. The first one was destroyed when the Yoruba nation thought that the Ibadan people had committed a grievous offense against tradition and culture of the Yorubas. It was during a Egungun festival, which is celebrated all over Yorubaland. And in public, the masquerade, the dressing exposed, because it's believed that the masquerade is from heaven. But this masquerade now, the dress turned, and they saw that it was a human being. It was unheard of. So all Yoruba, the Yoruba nation then came together and destroyed the settlements. The second one was also destroyed, again by combined forces of the Yorubas, which is the war you had talked about. So this is the third Ibadan. So when the second one was destroyed, Lagelu and his people moved into a forest, which is Awotan. And today Awotan is regarded as the cradle, as the homestead of Ibadan. So that's in short the history of the first, the second, and the third Ibadan.
Thank you very much, sir. So my second question goes to us. Who is Lagelu to the people of Ibadan or Yorubaland as a whole?
Well, Lagelu is reputed to be the founder of Ibadan. He was a chief from Ife.
So if I told Lagelu, go and discover a new city, I will direct you. Because Lagelu was a prince and an army general in Ife. All true Yorubas claim ancestry to Ile-Ife, Oduduwa. That's why Lagelu with his people and those who believed in him joined together, and they were coming.
And you know, in those days, either because you are looking for spoils, or you are a brave person, you are also looking for fame, many will leave their place of birth in search of fame or whatever, and go and found their own settlements. By the time Lagelu got to Igbo-Ikpara, there were already some, as I said, some people, some vagabonds, some unruly people, but some of them who ran away from justice.
Being strangers, the people who were living here before, I told you, some people were already living here, particularly the Egbas, who had escaped the reign of Alafin, because Egbaland was a territory of Oyo Empire.
So, what's the significance of Lagelu to Yorubaland? I think it can be seen from later developments when Lagelu himself had gone. That is how Ibadan saved the Yoruba nation from being conquered by the Fulanis.
This is my next question.
Yeah. Yes. Everybody, even you young ones, you read about the quest of the Fulanis to conquer the southern part of Nigeria and dip the Quran in the ocean. That is, have an overrun of the Yoruba nation down to Lagos. Going back a little bit, Afanja was the Are Ona Kakanfo in the old Oyo Kingdom. Are Ona Kakanfo is the generalissimo for the Alafin army. So he disagreed with Alafin, and he was from Ilorin. So he moved to Ilorin, and when Alafin threatened him, he sought the help of Alimi, a Fulani man.
Alimi was reputed to be versed in the Quranic and Arabic lectures and teachings, and was also a powerful seer. S-E-E-R. Seer, yes. So Afanja consulted Alimi, who was based in Iseyin, and took him to Ilorin to start making incantations and all other nonsense for him against the Alafin. But rather than do that, Alimi had the ambition of invading Ilorin, capturing it, and moving southwards to fulfill their so-called ancestor.
Alimi and his Fulani brethren assisted Afanja against Alafin. But having done that, later they dealt with Afanja himself, eliminated Afanja, and took over the leadership of Ilorin. And that's what it is up to today. It's only Fulani people that rule in Ilorin. So having settled in Ilorin and consolidated their hold on it, they now thought they can move down south. And they started coming from Ofa, Erinle, down to what you today call Osun State. Yoruba army confronted them at Oduotin. And there tactic, the Ibadan tactic was such that at Oduotin, the bridge on Oduotin, they moved behind the Fulanis, destroyed the bridge. They destroyed the bridge and then now attacked them from the front. While the Fulanis were trying to retreat, they were just falling into Oduotin with their horses.
Wow.
That was how Ibadan defeated them, and they had to, those who survived had to go back to Ilorin.
History with dates. 1840. Ibadan army drove the Fulani jihadists to the borders of Offa, present day Offa. That's why you still see the root of Yoruba in Offa town.
And they never attempted they never made any attempt to overrun Yoruba country anymore.
Thank you, sir. Also, sir, in the late 19th century and early 20th century, for my research, I got to know that Ibadan made they made extreme sales in the selling of cocoa and rubber. I don't know if you can help shed more light on that, sir.
Well, I grew up to know that the major cash crop of Ibadan was cocoa and kola nuts.
Early Yorubas were predominantly farmers. Next, you have the smiths, blacksmith, goldsmith. That's why in Ibadan, there's an area called Agbede Adodo. Agbede means a smith. That is where Ibadan army and soldiers were manufacturing their weapons to fight and conquer. But the main predominant profession was farming, then trading.
But is there any reason behind why it flourished in this part of?
When cocoa was introduced and the climate was conducive to growing cocoa, I think almost every family was growing cocoa. And in those days, even when I was growing up in the village, during cocoa season, it could take us 2 days to harvest the pods.
2 days.
Yes, such that the heap of the pod, when you are at this end, you might not see the other person at the other end.
Wow.
You're given the height of the, yes.
Wow.
So that was how flourishing cocoa was then. But now, especially in Ibadanland, cocoa is virtually gone.
Thank you very much, sir. So my next question, sir. It is well known that Ibadan is by landmass, is one of the biggest cities, the second biggest city in Africa, behind Cairo in Egypt, and in West Africa it is the biggest. Is there? I would like to know personally if was the landmass, was it judged by the government or was it the Ibadan people who?
No, it is by acquisition.
Acquisition.
Yes, by military, our military forefathers. Acquisition is probably in 2 ways. If I get there before you, so I own the place, or through military conquest. There are some of the parts of Ibadan land now that became part of Ibadan, absorbed into Ibadanland through conquest. You fight a neighboring settlement, you win, you become the overlord. So I won't want to mention those places in this interview.
No problem, sir.
But that is the way towns and cities grow. Not by it's not by government. In fact, in those days, there was only traditional institution. Well before the British colonials came. So it's when, as strong as the man may be, and when he starts procreating and he has males, farming was the major occupation. So there will be more demand for agriculture, for farming, especially when you have male children. And then when Ibadan went into war, they will capture slaves. Slaves will provide the labor for the master, and then you need more land to farm. So that's the way in those days people acquire. Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. Also, sir, what is the kingship setting of the city? Because for my research, I was made known that Ibadan does not make use of kings, that they use ballets. I don't know how true that is, sir.
Well, it is true, but you can ask what is in a name. While others are calling their traditional head Oba this, Oba that, Ibadan was calling its own Baale. There was no reason why it could not call its own Oba, and its own traditional head, Oba of Ibadan. So, but up till 1936, what we were having was Baale. Later, the Baale started adopting various terminologies, various names. So you have Basharun. Some of them adopted the title of Basharun. Some of them adopted Baale. Some of them adopted Balogun as their title. So, but in 1936, Ibadan just decided they wanted to change the name of Baale. Again, it derives from the nature of the settlement. Ibadan is a republican state. You get there, you prove your mettle. No, in some other states, their kingship system is hereditary. You identify a family that founded the town, and his family continue to be the rulers. In Ibadan, it was a republican system. Everybody came from everywhere else. Everybody, every major family in Ibadan came from other parts of Yorubaland. From other parts of Yorubaland. So when you get there, you have to prove yourself. You have to prove yourself. And once you are able to prove yourself, especially during the period when Ibadan was going to war, once you prove yourself, they promote you within the military rank, and by the time you become Balogun, you are the head of the military. In Ibadan, you have two lines of chieftaincy. You have the Balogun line, which is the military line. Then you have the Otun line, which is the civil line. The Balogun lines are those warriors, soldiers who go to war. The civil line are those who stay at home to manage and oversee the affairs of the city. The Olubadan we have now, he emerged from Balogun line. The next one will be from Otun. So when that one passes away, it becomes the turn of Balogun line again. On Otun line, you have 22 steps. So everybody will start from the first rung, which is the Jagun.
Also, sir, you mentioned that in the Otun line, they were mostly civilians. They were not warheads. I would like to know, and they have 22 steps. I would like to know what's their merits or how they were judged. Were they the wealthy men of the city, or how were they being judged?
No, not really wealthy. They were judged more by their contribution to the city in those days. But everything is now, times have changed. In those days, they judge you by your contribution to the state and to the town. People like Adebisi Idika, who was the wealthiest in his days, but he spent his money in promoting the interests of Ibadan. Chief Salami Agbaje, who was also a traditional chief, very wealthy, he also contributed significantly to the well-being of Ibadan.
So my last question, sir. Except from the Fulani empire that was trying to conquer Yorubaland, I would like to know some other war rivals that Ibadan had, because I know that even within Yoruba cities and towns, there were wars between fellow Yoruba people. I would like to know some of Ibadan's war rivals.
Yeah, Ibadan fought very many wars, and between 1840 and 1893, Ibadan also had an empire. So, and the empire is from Ibadan down to Ekiti, region. So, but because of that, other Yoruba towns and cities and the settlements, especially the Jeshas and the Ekitis, combined against Ibadan. And the confrontation is what is now today known as Kiriji War. Kiriji War, which was fought between, I think, 1877 to 1886, almost 9 years.
Wow.
None of them won. Ibadan was the aggressor, but none of them really had an upper hand until the British colonialists came in and settled the dispute through the Treaty of 1886, which ended the Kiriji War, which is called Treaty of Peace and Unity. So that ended major wars in Yorubaland. So Ibadan had its own empire and planted what they call Ajele. That is a representative of Olubadan in each of those towns, collecting tributes from the town, bringing them to the Olubadan in Ibadan. But with the cessation of hostilities in 1886, ending the Kiriji War. By 1893, another agreement was signed by the British with Ibadan, ending all wars in Yoruba land. And that treaty brought Ibadan into the administration of the Colonial Authority in 1893. Yeah.
Thank you very, very much, sir, for this interview, sir.
It's my pleasure to build the Nigerian youth.
Thank you very, very much for granting this interview.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
I hope you have a very nice day, sir.
I wish you the same.
Yes, sir.
Ibadan ni mo wà o, Ibadan ni mo dé o. Ibadan ni mo wà o, Ibadan ni mo dé o. Bẹ́ẹ̀ wá ń dé kò bẹ́ẹ̀ bá mi lé o. Ibadan ni mo wà o, Ibadan ni mo wà o, Ibadan ni mo dé o. Ibadan ni mo wà o, Ibadan ni mo dé o. Bẹ́ẹ̀ wá ń dé kò bẹ́ẹ̀ bá mi lé o. Ibadan.